Good morning and welcome to the Cyber Ireland National Conference 2021. My name is Owen Byrne and I'm the Cluster Manager of Cyber Ireland. So this is our first conference in what we hope will be an annual feature in the cybersecurity calendar. We have been planning the conference for the past 18 months and had hoped to run it in person. So we're delighted that you, the Cyber Ireland members, the cybersecurity community, are here with us today online from across the country. We have over 600 registrations for today's event, so it looks to be one of the biggest cybersecurity conferences this year. And the conference is organised by our members for the members with industry-focused content throughout the day. The aim is to bring together the cybersecurity community, so the people from across industry, the startups, the Irish SMEs, the multinational companies, but also our partners in academia and government agencies. Today is all about showcasing the best of our cluster, highlighting the organisations and cyber professionals that are leaders, but we will also discuss the challenges facing the cybersecurity community, industry and our country. And to complement the local and national perspectives, we have international speakers to provide their perspectives from the UK, US and Europe. On today's agenda, after the opening session, we have session 1, which will look at Ireland's cybersecurity opportunity, where we'll hear the preliminary results of our cybersecurity sector report, which is sponsored by Enterprise Ireland. Session 2 will examine how government and industry can work together in response to the increasing number of cyber attacks. And then at the lunch break, be sure to join us for a very interesting ethical hacking demo, which isn't to be missed. Session 3 then after lunch presents how industry are solving their cybersecurity skills shortages through collaborative programs. Session 4 will discuss what Ireland needs to do to build a cybersecurity R&D ecosystem, learning from international examples, and this is sponsored by Munster Technological University. To finish up, our lock note will be from Michael Daniel, CEO and President of the Cyber Threat Alliance in the US. As well as our headline sponsors, I'd also like to thank ComSec, Cycubix, HP, Keep It Safe, Microsoft and Palo Alto for their support today. So you'll see that each of the conference sessions are run as their own Zoom webinar, which you can access through the conference lobby, and you'll see which ones are live there. We want you to participate in the sessions throughout the day and encourage you to do so by using the poll questions in each of the sessions. You'll have an opportunity to submit your questions to today's presenters. So you can do that to type your question into the Q&A at the bottom of the control panel. Please use the chat function to introduce yourselves as well. You can introduce your organization, maybe include your LinkedIn profile if you'd like to network. And you may have also seen that in the chat function in the conference lobby, you can leave a message. You can actually connect with other attendees and arrange Zoom meetings as well. So here you'll be able to connect with other Cyber Ireland members and our sponsors. And we also have a couple of competitions for you throughout the day. So you'll have a chance to win a fantastic prize from Technology Ireland ICT SkillNet of a virtual Capture the Flag event for your organisation. So stay tuned at the coffee break and the lunch break to get the link to complete the form for that. And you may have seen on social media, we sent out over 100 conference goodie bags to early registrations and our key supporters. We have 5 more conference goodie bags to win today, picked at random from best questions throughout the sessions, social media posts on Twitter and LinkedIn. So if you'd like to be entered into those, please answer or please make the questions using your name and your organization. Don't make them anonymous. And for the LinkedIn and Twitter posts, use the conference hashtag CINC 2021 to be in a chance to win those as well. Now, over to our opening session this morning. First, we have a welcome from the Cyber Ireland Chairperson, Mr. Paul Walsh, who's VP of Engineering and Site Lead at McAfee. After this, we're delighted to welcome Minister Ossian Smyth, Minister of State for the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform, Public Procurement, eGovernment with special responsibility for communications and circular economy for a discussion on national cybersecurity with our chair, Paul. And finally, we're going to wrap up. We will have the European perspective with a message from Bart Groothuis, Member of the European Parliament and Special Rapporteur to the European Cyber Security Directive, NIS2. I'd now like to welcome Cyber Ireland's Chair, Paul Walsh.
Thanks very much, Owen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to welcome you all to our inaugural national conference. Cyber Ireland is a national cybersecurity cluster organisation which brings together industry, academia and government to represent the needs of the cyber security ecosystem in Ireland and address the key challenges for our industry. We aim to enhance the innovation, growth and competitiveness of the companies and organisations which are part of the cluster. At present, Cyber Ireland has over 130 members nationwide, comprising almost 40 multinationals, 70 Irish SMEs and 12 of the leading academic institutes. We continue to work with our partners in government, including the National Cyber Security Centre, IDEA Ireland and Enterprise Ireland, to move forward Ireland's cyber security agenda and advocate for industry needs. Now, more than ever, there is a need for a collaborative approach across industry, academia and government to address Ireland's cybersecurity challenges. Most of our members are attending today, and I would like to thank you all for your support and contributions. I would also like to point out that new members are most welcome. Throughout the day, we'll address many major topics facing industry and share much of the great work Cyber Ireland has begun. As you all know, cybersecurity is a rapidly growing industry internationally, for which there are many opportunities and some challenges. The estimated 2023 worldwide cybersecurity spend is $248 billion. The annual global cost of cybercrime has exceeded $1 trillion annually. The unemployment rate in cybersecurity is close to zero, and there are an estimated 3.5 million unfilled jobs. As an industry, we need to solve for some significant challenges. We're experiencing increased global competition for talent and investment. There is increased cybercrime globally, and recent ransomware attacks have made this a headline story all over the world. The economic impacts of cybercrime puts us all at risk, including our Indigenous SME sector. This has knock-on effects on our FDI brand. We have low levels of collaborative security R&D between industry and academia in Ireland. And throughout the day, our sessions will address these opportunities and areas of concern. For the past 2.5 years, we focused on building the cyber community in Ireland and increasing our presence internationally. Today's conference is a key part of that strategy and will outline much of the great work the team has been doing. We also have an international focus, and Cyber Ireland has, through our Grow and Export initiative, this year participated in the Finland-Ireland Cyber event with the Finnish Cyber Cluster and the Finnish Ambassador, in Scotland Cyber Week, and also then with Enterprise Ireland and San Diego Cyber Security Centre of Excellence. We have joined an international cyber security soft landing initiative with 13 cyber security clusters to support startups, let entrepreneurs visit, test, and set up in new markets. This has already proved successful with 2 of our members, Privacy Solved and For Securitas, testing the Dutch market with the Hague Security Delta Cluster. Cyber Ireland has commissioned a cybersecurity sectorial analysis, which will assess the scale, size, and makeup of the cybersecurity industry in Ireland, detailing numbers of companies and type, employment, revenue, and GVA, and investment. We will publish this report in January 2022. The SME community play a key role in our ecosystem, and I'm pleased to report that MTU and Cyber Ireland secured funding under the Enterprise Ireland Regional Technology Cluster Fund to deliver a programme of activities to support the Irish SME sector. An SME committee was established to oversee these activities and is made up of senior management from key Indigenous small and medium-sized cybersecurity companies who are expanding their business internationally. The committee is exploring specific challenges for SMEs, identifying a number of initiatives to focus on in the coming years. We have a strong focus on talent and skills to ensure a sustainable pipeline of cybersecurity talent. Our Cyber Ireland Skills Report was published this February, and its key findings clearly highlight the opportunity and changes facing our industry. We discovered that 62% of companies will hire in 2021. Our cybersecurity workforce is highly skilled. 48% of organizations have open or unfilled cybersecurity roles. 46% of cybersecurity teams are understaffed. 19% require 6 months or more to fill a role. 43% of new hires are from outside of Ireland, and 27% have difficulty retaining female talent. Sustained long-term strategy is needed to address these gaps, and Cyber Ireland is focused on building a strong pipeline of talent from schools to universities to industry, along with their partners. We have programs in place that promote career opportunities in cyber to students through the Cyber Security Academy for secondary schools and the Career Talks and Cyber Summer Camp that ran this June. We welcome the skills initiatives that are focused on upskilling our existing workforce and attracting talent to cross-train in cybersecurity. You'll learn more about the great work in this area in our session 3 today, our solution to skills challenges. On the R&D front, we are engaging with Science Foundation Ireland on the need for a National Cybersecurity Research Centre. We need to show that there is existing cybersecurity research and the capacity for increased industry academic research. This is a great opportunity, but it will require member participation and collaboration across our base to influence policy. We will support R&D through highlighting funding opportunities at a national and EU level and by connecting industry members with research groups. We are aware of the EU proposal for a National Cybersecurity Coordination Centre linked into the European Cybersecurity Competency Centre in Bucharest. We support the NCSC's work on this, which will facilitate increased industry and academic R&D, give us access to EU funding and support for SMEs. Session 4, building a cybersecurity R&D ecosystem, will focus on the importance of collaborative R&D if Ireland is to be a leader. Ireland has become a significant base for international technology and security companies. 6 of the top 10 software security companies are here. Over 40 multinationals with cybersecurity operations in Ireland. We have over 80 Irish cybersecurity companies and startups. There are over 7,500 people working in our cybersecurity industry and 30,000 professionals with cybersecurity related skills. We have a strong talent pool, a highly skilled multilingual workforce with strong talent development programs. We are a digital leader, attracting foreign direct investment and hosting much of EU's data, with Dublin being Europe's largest data hosting market. Ireland is uniquely placed to benefit from increased global investment. It has an opportunity to position itself as a global leader for cybersecurity talent, innovation, and investment. Cyber Ireland aims to facilitate the cybersecurity ecosystem to capitalize upon this opportunity and position itself at the center of a growing global cybersecurity market. Today's conference will explore these challenges and opportunities, and I welcome your engagement and feedback throughout the day. Finally, can I thank our organizing committee, my fellow board members, and all the speakers for the time and expertise in organizing and planning today's event. We appreciate all your support, and I hope you find this event productive and informative. I'm very excited about the day ahead, and it's now my pleasure to welcome Minister of State for Department of Public Expenditure and Reform, Public Procurement, eGovernment with special responsibility for communications and circular economy, Ossian Smyth, to give the opening address to our conference.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much, Paul, and thank you, Owen, for inviting me to this, the first annual Cyber Ireland conference, and it's an honour to address 600 cybersecurity professionals in Ireland. Although it is also a reminder that the last time that I addressed this many cybersecurity professionals online was a traumatic experience, because earlier this year, May 14th, I was woken up at 5:30 a.m. to hear that the HSE had been disabled, that their computer systems had been taken down, and that I was due to explain the situation and circumstances to the public on national radio in a few minutes' time. And I'm saying that to you because I want you to put yourself in that situation as a cybersecurity professional. That's the day you're preparing for, the day when you are woken up early in the morning and you need to explain to your clients or to your management or to the general public why there's no water coming out of their tap, why there's no electricity coming out of the socket, why there's no internet, or whatever it is the basic service that you provide. And a lot of the time, whatever that service is that you're providing, whatever the critical infrastructure is that you're responsible for, up to now, it has been taken for granted by people who use it. The more basic it is, the less that people think of it, I guess, until it's taken away. And then suddenly it does become a huge priority for everybody. There wasn't a lot of talk about cybersecurity in Ireland until this year. It wasn't a topic of much interest in the media. Many politicians didn't think about it too much. Wasn't discussed in public that much, but that all changed earlier this year. There was a a big focus on it. There's a lot of debate, and the fact that people are thinking about it is positive. There's been a change, obviously, in society over the last couple of decades. People have gone online, business has gone online, education has gone online, our social lives, our commercial lives, and even our interactions with government have gone online. And so it's natural that criminals go online. The Gardaí have done very well, I think, with the National Cyber Security Bureau. I think that they've acquitted themselves very well. But people do need to be protected, and there is an onslaught of attacks and a great increase in the volume of attempts, and also in the sophistication of those attacks. So this morning I'm going to share with you sort of three aspects of what the government is doing regarding cybersecurity. I think Cyber Ireland brings together government, but also industry and also academia, and we've all got roles to play, and we've got to interact with each other in a positive and productive way. And I think it's great to have this organisation, and it's great to have this opportunity to have a chat about what we're doing. I want to say to you as well that this isn't just me sending you information and telling you how it is. I'm also inviting you to come back to me if you do have ideas. So if you feel that there's a way that the government could more effectively deliver cybersecurity for the public, if there's a way that we can improve the way that we deliver education, that we work with industry, I'm absolutely open to you contacting me. My office is not deluged with people with ideas. It's very occasional, so it would be very welcome if you do come back to me. I'll be all ears. So there's kind of three aspects I'm going to speak about today. I'm going to talk about how we're going to strengthen the National Cyber Security Centre, and that has been discussed a bit in the media and at our Oireachtas public committees. Secondly, I'm going to talk about what we can do to improve our cybersecurity education at all levels, because obviously human talent is the key resource. It's the thing that protects us. And lastly, I'm going to talk about our international connections. Cyber criminals are not all based in one particular country, as sometimes it's shown. Often they're distributed around a number of different countries, and they're attacking multiple countries at the same time. So with that kind of distributed threat aimed across different continents, it really does absolutely require international cooperation at different levels, much more so than other issues that might challenge our country. So I'm going to start with the National Cyber Security Centre. Ireland is not alone in facing these cyber attacks, especially ransomware attacks. And beyond the HSC, we've had, there's been a number of very high-profile attacks around the world, the Colonial Pipeline, of course, and SolarWinds, and so on. And so we know that it's not just a small country like Ireland that can be the victim of this kind of attack. It can happen anywhere. And in fact, as I talked about that type of critical infrastructure, which you don't think about, I was recently in Tallinn at a digital summit where I met digital ministers, and the Austrian minister told me how their third largest dairy in Austria was the subject of a ransomware attack, Salzburg Milk. And she told me that the result of that was there was no milk on the shelves. So, when people can't put milk in their coffee, that's the kind of basic infrastructure that even if you don't watch the news, you don't pay any attention to public affairs, you're well aware when there's no milk on the shelves. And there was the consumer reaction, and also the farmers were unhappy, and farmers are a very strong and well-organized lobby in every country. So that was an example of, I guess, the type of cyber attack which is so unexpected, because nobody associates a dairy with computer systems or understands that, in fact, once you disable their computers, that it could actually disable their whole business operation. So the National Cyber Security Centre in the last year has defended against 3,000 incidents, or has received 3,000 incident reports in which they've been a response team. And I don't think that is very well known. And I think that, we do run the risk of the public only being aware of the successful attacks when they happen, rather than the attacks that are defended against. And while obviously confidentiality and security are paramount when dealing with the National Cyber Security Centre, I do want to publish more information about the attacks that are happening in the future. So I do, in aggregate, rather than revealing anything about any particular attack or defeated attack, I do want to start producing more information about the kind of attacks that are happening, the volume of those attacks, and the sectors that they're happening in. But in the past year, we've had about 3,000 attacks, and the previous year it was about 2,000. So just to give you an idea of the volume. And so in other words, the Cyber Security Centre is having to respond to a very large number of these incidents, and that's taking a lot of resources. It was clear that with the volume of attacks increasing, even last summer, so summer of 2020, when the government was being formed, and we had a programme for government. I think for the first time, the programme for government referred to cybersecurity, and one of the things it said was that we need to resource it better, and that we need to carry out a third-party objective review of what was needed to increase the resources and where the resources should go. That review started at the end of last year. The results came in about June. And are being acted on by the government. So that was a comparative review to see how does our National Cybersecurity Centre compare with other cybersecurity centres around the world. If we're short of resources, where are we short of those resources, and where should they be targeted? So we have the result of that, and the result of that review was a recommendation for an increase in the staffing over a period of 5 years. The staffing increase was. What was recommended was about 20 staff in the next 18 months, and we're taking on 25 staff. So we're going beyond what was recommended. And the government was very receptive to any of the recommendations for increased staffing that were in the report. We also need to have a new headquarters for our cybersecurity centre. It needs to have a best-of-class joint security operations centre, and we have the capital allocated for that. We will have a permanent centre in Beggars Bush, which will take up the top floor of the new Department of Communications building there. And in the interim, we will be constructing very shortly, with the help of the OPW, we will be converting an existing appropriate building in Dublin to be a cybersecurity centre with a joint operations, with a security operations centre at the heart, which will be very well spec'd, and I'm looking forward to that. I want to say that I'm happy that the government is committed to delivering all of the recommendations of the National Cybersecurity Review, of the capacity review, and one of those was to hire a new director, and we are interviewing for that, or we've advertised for it, and we're going through the hiring process for that at the moment. This is a position which is not quite the same as a Chief Information Security Officer. It is not going to be a technical role. It's going to be a role that's going to involve a lot of diplomacy with other countries. It's going to involve working with government. It's going to involve creating new legislation and negotiating over the creation of that at European level. And it's going to involve the management of the organisation as well. So we've set that at the second highest level of the civil service, Deputy Secretary, which is €184,000 a year, and that's to reflect the importance of that job and the importance of the organisation. So it's a 5-year plan, though, from the compliance review, and ultimately we'll be heading towards having 75 staff within 5 years, and our headquarters building that we're planning to build, our permanent headquarters, will have room for 100 staff. We'll also have people on secondment from other organisations. I believe we have somebody from the Department of Homeland Security in the NCSC at the moment, but we will work with other countries as well. So at the moment, it's not just the director that we're hiring. We have a number of other hires going on. We're starting a cybersecurity graduate training program shortly, and it will take on 4 computer science graduates each year on 3-year contracts, and that's in addition to the permanent roles that we're taking on. So that this is just part of our development. Okay, so I just want to talk about what we need to do to develop talent and to get more people trained for cybersecurity. This is something that happens at not just at 3rd level, but also at 2nd level. It's important that children are going online, even at primary school level, and they need to develop the habits and the skills and the cyber hygiene and so on at an early age. And then I guess they need to be encouraged, if they have an interest or they have the ability or the aptitude to get involved in the cybersecurity sector, to be shown that aspect of technology and academia at an early age. So Cyber Ireland is working with us on delivering on these objectives, along with Technology Ireland, ICT Skills Net, and Cyber Women Ireland. It's very important that we have people of all backgrounds and that we have women and men involved. I think that women and men prefer working in a mixed environment, and we're really losing something if we don't have enough women getting involved in cybersecurity. We're missing perspective, but we're just missing all of that talent and resource. So we need to make sure that everything we're doing promotes a diverse workplace. So I just want to tell you about one particular success, which is developing the junior cycle short course in cybersecurity. Last year, the NCSE established the Cyber Security Education Working Group that was under Professor Joe Carthy of UCD. And this involved teachers from the Computer and Education Society of Ireland, Cyber Ireland, and the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment. This course is being piloted in 14 schools around the country. It has 20 groups and 500 students involved, and that includes all girls schools. The course content covers not just cyber hygiene for digital natives, but also it challenges students. We want to engage with students at their level as teenagers. I'm looking forward to industry engaging with the schools involved as part of early stage promotion of careers in STEM. This short course can provide the pathway towards senior cycle computer science and in turn towards STEM-based third level courses in cybersecurity. So I'll be continuing to work with Ministers Norma Foley and Minister Simon Harris on the development of courses at second and third level. And again, if any of you who are attending this course in academia have particular views or interests or proposals that you want to send to me in that regard regarding how cybersecurity education could be improved or changed, I'll be receptive to giving you a hearing. Okay, so the next thing I want to go on to is about international cooperation. As I said, with criminals in different countries attacking multiple countries at the same time, we just cannot respond to this without international cooperation. And shortly after that HSE attack, I mean, within hours, we had contact from the Polish Cybersecurity Center, and they were offering us information because they believed that they had been subject to attacks from the same gang that had attacked the HSE, and they wanted to share with us intelligence about their methods of operation, and we're very grateful for that. We also received very quickly help from the United States, from the UK agencies, and from agencies across Europe through ENISA. So we're grateful for that, and we offer that help in return as well, of course. And a few months ago, when I was in Tallinn, in fact, at the Digital Summit, I also got the chance to visit the Centre of Excellence, the Cyber Defence Centre of Excellence, where people from all countries across Europe, NATO countries, but also non-NATO countries, come together and take part in exercises where they are cybersecurity exercises, where they are trying to capture the flag or hack each other, and there was a great deal of I guess research and learning going on there, and it was interesting to see. And most of the activity that goes on in that Centre of Excellence is published and it is openly available for people to read. So the EU is now, as you probably know, is now reviewing the NIS directive, and this is to enhance cyber resilience and cooperation across the EU. It's a growing threat for everybody, not just for Ireland. And I want to ask you about this as well. Do you have an idea of what's going on in Brussels at the directive level or at the cybersecurity level? The NIS directive is what governs what we do here. It's the only legislation that underpins our cybersecurity activities here, really. And it is being updated to the NIS 2 directive. And, we have, I suppose, 70 operators of essential service in Ireland. And we recently we had a public consultation on what should happen with the NIS 2 directive. And despite the fact that there are hundreds of organizations in Ireland who have large cybersecurity operations, but there are 70 providers of essential services, many government departments, many private companies. Despite all of that, we only got 21 responses to that public consultation. And I just want more engagement. I want, because this is going to greatly change how cybersecurity operates in Ireland. And it's not great if you are going to find huge changes to your methods of operation and that you haven't had the chance to contribute to it or to make your views known. So please do. So in Brussels, my officials are seeking to have international cooperation included as an article within the scope of the NIS2 directive. And in the aftermath of the HC attacks, I was at the European Union Council of Ministers, and I made this point that I wanted to see international cooperation included as within the NIS2 directive. It's also important that we cooperate with the US and the UK. I think that they are our allies, and they also have such extensive resources in dealing with these criminals. I think that that working with them is essential to success. Under NIS2, businesses and public bodies in most areas of economic and social activity in the state will have to have stringent cybersecurity risk management and reporting arrangements in place. Supervision will involve on-site inspections. It will involve proactive scanning of infrastructure and audits, and enforcement is going to involve compliance orders. It's going to involve large administrative fines. It could be 2% of turnover, and in extreme cases, it could involve the suspension of business activity and direct accountability of senior managers. So it goes beyond the compliance powers that we currently have under the NIS1 directive. Ireland will be responsible for regulation of cloud, data centers, content delivery platforms, and DNS services of many of the large multinationals in the EU single market. But unlike NIS1, which involves light touch regulation, this time we're going to be expected to put in rigorous supervision and enforcement measures. Half measures won't do, and Ireland's reputation is at stake as a preferred place to do business in the digital world. So I just want to say something about how we're working with the EU. We're going to be setting up, and this was referred to earlier, a National Cybersecurity Coordination Centre. This is to act as a national focal point for EU funding of research, innovation, and deployments in cybersecurity. I'm going to work with the new EU Cybersecurity Competence Centre in Romania on industry outreach, on enterprise funding for Irish and EU firms, and on cybersecurity community membership and support. And this follows on from EU funding to our central bank for work on cyber threat sharing, and also EU funding to the National Standards Authority of Ireland on cybersecurity certification. A crucial relationship that we have is with the US government, and I've had a number of meetings with the US Embassy in the last, well, I suppose since the cyber attack on the HSE in May, and I understand that Claire Cronin has gone through another level of her ratification to become the new US ambassador. So up to now, as there hasn't been any US ambassador in place since the start of the year, I've been meeting with Alex McKnight. So the challenges that we're facing in cybersecurity are not simple. They're not going to be easy to meet, but it is clear that the government has made progress on the three pillars of the National Cybersecurity Strategy. Firstly, to protect what matters. Secondly, to develop our national skills in cybersecurity. And lastly, to engage internationally with our partners in trying to form a coalition against these criminals and against foreign powers that might try to influence our country. Okay, so thanks again to everybody for your invitation, and I look forward to hearing the rest of the conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. That was very interesting range of topics you covered there. Our next speaker is Bart Groothuis, and he's going to talk about NIS2 and some of the activities that are happening in Europe at the moment. So I think it's a really key area for us, and I think there's an awful lot more information to unravel there. I know the point you make about the contributions that you probably expected more than you got from the public consultation. And I do think it's a topic that Cyber Ireland needs to dig a little bit deeper into as well. So on the back of what Bart's speech is kind of interesting, and it covers on a lot of very important topics that I think we need to delve into a little further. There's been some very good commentary in relation to the education element of your talk there, particularly in relation to secondary schools and promoting education there. There's a lot of activity, across Ireland right now with lots of different companies involved in different ways, and some level of coordination there, I think, would really help maximize our ability to promote cyber skills across our schools, and also increase the awareness amongst students and parents. I want to maybe ask you some questions about the HSE attack. I mean, it obviously got you up early in the morning. It was front and center for everybody for quite some time. Could you share some lessons in terms of what have we learned from that attack?
Yeah, so I guess, well, the first thing to say is that there is still a Garda live investigation going on, so I can't say everything about what's going on. And I guess one of the aspects of this is that when an attack like this happens, you've multiple levels of investigation. So you have the Gardaí in there doing their policing and law enforcement, but you also have the National Cyber Security Centre doing their investigation, the HSE investigating themselves to see what happened, Data Protection Commission are interested as well, and ENISA, in fact, the European coordinating body, they also are compiling their own report. So I guess there are going to be lots of investigations, lots of reports, which are probably done from different perspectives and are not entirely going to agree with each other. I mean, I can say that the attack involved, and there were a number of factors involved in it. It was obviously a human-operated ransomware attack in contrast with the previous largest attack, the WannaCry, which was an automated self-replicating virus. Self-replicating, it was a form of ransomware, but it was a self-replicating traditional virus. So I guess it's that difference between being attacked by something that has intent and has perhaps targeted you to being attacked by something that is like catching a cold, where you've just been infected by another machine nearby. I guess the lesson, I mean, one of the lessons that comes from it is that an organization like the HSE with 80,000 endpoints is difficult to defend, that the things that need to be done are incredibly important, that an organization which is under incredible stress, because clearly they were dealing with a pandemic, they had a lot of people working from home, they're trying to deliver life-saving population-wide systems like COVID testing, vaccination system, contact tracing systems, and so on, but they were particularly vulnerable at that point. And that is, attackers will attack you at the point when they think you're at your most vulnerable, you're under the most stress. Traditionally a fraud was done Friday evening before a bank holiday, and in the same way, this was just the worst time for them to be attacked. There will be multiple reports coming out of this. I know that the HSE has commissioned their own, and they will be sharing those with us, of course. The board has commissioned a report, independent reports. We have our own report from FireEye and so on. So there will be a lot of information, and there will be a lot of things to be learned. And the NCSE's role partly is to share information with organizations on how to protect themselves. So the learnings from that will be shared as part of that education.
Just in relation to that, I mean, will there be a review of the security posture maybe of other government bodies to see if there could be maybe vulnerabilities elsewhere that we should be looking to solve for?
One of the things that's happening is we're bringing in a base level of security for all public sector bodies that all public sector bodies will have to comply with. So within the next couple of weeks, we are going to publish a base level security standard which all public sector bodies must comply with, and I think that's a major development.
Okay, thank you. The cyber world is changing very rapidly, and the National Cyber Security Strategy was written in 2019, and it could be argued as modest compared to some other countries. Are there plans right now to maybe update or replace that?
Yeah, I think it's 2019 to 2024.
Yeah.
So it's certainly time for a review. I think that the HSE attack, and I guess as well, obviously brings that into focus. But we have had the capacity review of the NCSC, which did some of that work. But certainly a midterm review is due, and partly because things have changed so quickly. 5 years is a very long time in cybersecurity or IT, and there's been a dramatic change. I think that the digitization of society accelerated during the last year or two, with people doing things online they'd never have dreamt of, like visiting your doctor online or video calling people and so on. So certainly a midterm review of the cybersecurity strategy is due, and will be happening in the next year, to see what have we achieved on our goals that we set out in 2019, and then what things need to be changed, because I'm sure some of it is now out of date at this time or overtaken by events.
Okay, well, Minister, thank you very much. We really appreciate your time today. It's a pleasure to talk with you. I think there's a lot more we'd like to follow up with you on, and you keep the dialogue open between Cyber Ireland and your department, and we look forward to meeting you again in the future.
Thanks very much. And again, I invite people to contact my department, any cybersecurity experts from academia or industry or government who have suggestions for how you think things should be done differently, and I'll give you a hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take you up on that offer for sure. Appreciate your time today. Bye-bye. So to wrap up our opening session, I'd like to share a special video that Bart Groothuis, who is a member of the European Parliament, a rapporteur of the European Cyber Security Directive. He recorded this for us last week. He apologized for not being able to make it. But in a call with him, he mentioned that he's working with Irish MEPs Barry Andrews and Billy Keller on cybersecurity initiatives. And the Minister touched on NIS2. So Bart's going to cover a little bit about that in his video. So just to close the session, I think we'll run that video now.
Cyber Ireland, good morning, and what an honor to speak to you here from Brussels in the European Parliament. It's a bummer I can't make it up there in Dublin, but I wish you a very pleasant day, and let me make this 10 to 15 minutes worthwhile your time. As me being rapporteur in the European Parliament on Europe's new cybersecurity legislation, the NIS. I won't just be talking about this new legislation. I'll also be addressing the cybersecurity strategy and the things that we should be working on in the next couple of months and years, as you know very well in Ireland. My background is Bart Groothuis, MEP from the Netherlands for the centrist Renew Group, and I am Parliament's rapporteur on the new cybersecurity legislation. Previously, I've been head of cybersecurity for the Dutch Ministry of Defense for over 7 years. So I come from the cybersecurity field, and I very much encourage the conferences like you have today. It's an honor to be here. If you ask me, for whom am I working? For who is my primary customer as a politician here in Brussels? I would say it's the cybersecurity community. I come from that community, I stem from that community, I understand their needs, and when cybersecurity community functions, the whole world functions better because we have better measures of security. You in Ireland, you know what it is to be shook up by a huge cybersecurity incident like happened to your hospitals. It's a shock. And I remember in the Netherlands in 2011, 10 years ago, when DigiNotar, a certificate authority, was breached by the Iranian intelligence, but also military intelligence from Russia, addressing Europe's needs and crippling businesses, for example, in the Rotterdam harbor with NotPetya, or the North Koreans with WannaCry, the NHS crisis that it erupted as a result from that in the UK. But there's so many daily incidents, and that's what I want to talk to you about. What is the character of these new incidents that flood our societies today? I want to use that word, flooding. And what is the character of these incidents? What is the problem? What is the real solutions that we should be looking after? So we are making new legislation for this, and let me just start by saying why we need this legislation before we start on what we need. We need it because in 2019, the Dutch police forces and the General Attorney's Office have published that cybercrime in the Netherlands doubled in 1 year. Very exemplary for the rest of the European Union. In 2020, the year after, the Federal Bureau of Investigation informed us that ransomware only was more than tripled across the globe, with over 312% increase of ransomware across the globe. Just imagine. If I speak to security forces and security services nowadays, there's a new peak coming at us in 2021. So just like the COVID pandemic, we see somewhat of a ransomware epidemic as well. And it's comparable in another sense, that our hospitals, our doctors, our nurses, they were flooded with patients with COVID symptoms. But how about our police forces? How about our security forces and the NCSCs and CSIRT communities? Are they not flooded with incidents? Can they keep their heads above the water? I think there's a similarity here, and we need to relieve those security forces, let them do their job, and make sure that we have higher measures of security across Europe. But we also need to do it fast. We need speed. And I very much encourage, for example, what the United States are doing. The hack on colonial pipelines actually alarmed the Americans that something really serious was striking their economy. And what Joe Biden is doing is very good. Emergency legislation to make sure that they have higher common levels of cybersecurity measures across the USA. But there's a waterbed effect here I'd like to mention as well. When I was in office in the Dutch Ministry of Defense, I remember the banks in the Netherlands cracking down on internet banking crime. And within 3 months, over 90% decrease in cybersecurity incidents erupted in the Netherlands, which was great. But at the same time, over 90% increase in countries surrounding the Netherlands was also seen. So there's a waterbed effect. And it's like the Americans say, if you go out camping, you don't have to outrun the bear, you have to outrun the others you are with. So we need to make speed, pace. The other thing I'm worried about in the context of this new legislation is the scale on what we're seeing cybersecurity incidents. Incidents erupt on industrial scale. First, we saw that in industrial espionage from mainland China. We've seen a significant effort to drain some of the intellectual property that we gained throughout Europe, which will give us the power to economically innovate in future. And I'm worried about that. But the same goes for ransomware criminals. Their scale is unprecedented. They're becoming more and more professionalized, and I think we need to do something. The last trend I'd like to set the stage before talking about this legislation is, of course, attacks on the supply chain. We have a huge problem with governments, but also ransomware groups hacking into supply chain and then infecting, hacking hundreds and thousands of other victims at once on a huge scale. So the supply chain is something that we need to address as well. Now, let me first start, before we start with Europe's new cybersecurity legislation, saying something about Europe's current posture. We already have a Network and Information Security Directive, the NIS-1. That was created in 2016. It went into force in 2018, only 3 years ago. But like you know, the world went very, very fast. There were many problems in the NIS, and especially in implementing it. There's differences, how countries adapt to the NIS legislation. And those differences are from country to country, they differ. And that is problematic for the single market. What is also problematic is that many countries have their own way of defining what is essential and vital infrastructure. That should be more harmonized, and we will be defining it in this new legislation. Another problem is information sharing that hampered throughout the period of implementation. Across Europe, we'll be addressing that, and legal issues. Many liability concerns across Europe have erupted. And let me just mention one thing. Europe is spending 41% less on cybersecurity. The average company is spending 41% less than our colleagues and friends in the United States. Here's also the waterbed effect. Now, I've set the stage on threats, I've tried to set the stage on the NIS-1, and now we'll be going to the NIS-2. what will Europe's cybersecurity legislation look like? Let me name 3 things, what I'm very proud of that the Commission has put forward. First, we'll borrow a great German word which is called Chefsache. It means it's a boardroom issue. Cybersecurity is no longer an issue just from an IT guy somewhere in the back of the business that you run. It's Chefsache. The CEO has to be involved himself. There's a liability there. He needs to take measures. And what I'm very proud of is that when there's a demonstrable negligence of cybersecurity measures, that there's penal fine in the legislation. It's 2%. Why 2%? Ransomware gangs come into your business, they see and look for the yearly revenue that you have, a yearly turnover, and they take 2%. Now the question is, will you give it to ransomware gangs? Will you give it to fines? Or will you just invest it inside your own company? Will you invest to make sure that you have a higher level of cybersecurity? Okay, that's the first thing, Chefsache. The second thing is reporting and cooperation in Europe is much better arranged in this new file, in this new legislation as it was before. And the third thing is that the scope, the number of entities in this directive is expanded significantly. 160,000, including health, energy, food, manufacturing. It's all inside scope, and I'm very proud of that ambitious rate that we have seen the atmosphere that I just described. The Parliament is also proposing a couple of big changes to the proposal of the Commission. And as I'm entering the trilogues, so the negotiations with Council and with the Commission, I will be proposing the Parliament's position, which differs significantly. Let's name a couple. The first is I will provide a legal basis for sharing information. It's important that you don't feel liable if you share personal data, if it concerns if the goal is in heightening the cybersecurity posture that you have. It's also about sharing it with Japan, sharing it with Canada, sharing it with the US and like-minded countries that we want them to share with us. We have to make sure there's a legal basis to share with them, and public-private partnerships. I think Parliament, and I especially have been pushing for cooperation with cybersecurity companies. But also, second thing is threat reporting, timeline reporting. We need reporting, but we don't want over-reporting. We want it done nice, garbage in, garbage out. If you have over-reporting and too much, it will not help our security posture. I will make sure that that's done properly for the community. Then, who is data? You as a community know how important that is to track down ransomware gangs and other APTs, etc. It'll come back. We will make sure we have new legal basis to do that. We'll exclude DNS servers if it concerns root level DNS. We will not regulate the internet from Europe. That is something I didn't like about the Commission proposal. I don't want to regulate root level DNS servers. What I do want to regulate and make sure that proper cybersecurity posture is on normal TLDs, DNS providers and CCTLDs, and we make sure that they have a good resilience to sharpen our posture there. Two last things, we will be providing international standards, and I know you in Ireland are also very much transatlantic orientated. I'm orientated towards the US as well, and we'll keep open some space to cooperate and have those international standards, but we'll also be looking at European certification, European standards, and lots of more. Now, all very good things that needs to be in this new directive, and I will be in the negotiations and the trilogues fighting for that. But we have other initiatives that we need as well in Europe. Let me first mention, and you in Ireland, you know the importance of this, is the joint cyber unit, giving mutual assistance towards each other. I think, let me just say this personally by heart, I think that if you look at the treaties of the European Union, Article 222, mutual assistance, when there's a forest fire in Portugal, that should have been invoked when it concerned the attack on your healthcare. I think that this should have been marked as a great scale incident, and you should have had more assistance. And I believe that we should work towards that, and the Joint Cyber Unit will actually tackle some of those issues. The second thing I'd like to mention is, what I'm very proud of, is that Ursula von der Leyen in the State of the Union speech in Strasbourg a couple of weeks ago announced a new Cyber Resilience Act. What does that mean? Well, it's a gap that we still have. It's called Internet of Things, it's called connected devices, and it's called hard and software producers. The NIS2, which I'm rapporteur of, does not address it because it's not suitable to do in this legislation and the legal basis it provides for. But there will be new legislation for connected devices, and I'm very, very keen on that to happen. We will be the first in the world to do so. We will decide what devices we want. It's nice to have a pulled pork machine in your kitchen, but if hackers can enter your home routing system, that's not what we want. We want secure devices. Then third, a new European cyber security strategy has been announced by the Commission, and I very much encourage that. The most important thing in that strategy is a European DNS resolver. What is DNS? You know, the Domain Name Service System. It's the phone book of the internet. If people still know what a phone book is, I tell my children, I have to explain them what it is, but it is translating a web address, a domain name, into an IP address, and that system can easily be used for blocking malign addresses. What if we knew, and we did know, the NotPetya attack, the ransomware attack from the North Koreans, WannaCry, but also in Ireland, if we knew the domain which infected all of those hospitals in Dublin, we could have easily stopped it. That is something that we have to work towards, a new DNS capability with which we can thwart and also proactively do something against these cyber attacks, and not just reactively share threat intel and make sure that we hasten our posture, but also do something proactively. That is a posture I'd like to see, and I think the European Commission and the nations inside the EU want to see across the EU. Now, I think I have a final message to Ireland. I think lots and lots and lots of happening in the EU. And I understand the tendency that you have to look towards the US. We as the Dutch have it as well. I had the same opinion a couple of years ago, but the world is changing. And I think that we need a strong European Union on cyber security. There's also another reason. Some of the nations say it's a national competence, and many in cybersecurity, many capabilities that we have as a nation still are, and I encourage that. But we do need more cooperation in Europe. That's on the intelligence side, law enforcement side, but we also need the CSIRT community to come together and tackle large-scale incidents like you had in Ireland, and lower the threshold in order to invoke such mutual assistance and cooperation across Europe. I think Europe can do much more than it does right now to make sure that we get a much safer Europe, a better posture to guard our businesses, our civilians, and let's make Europe a safe place to live and do business. And that's what I want to conclude, and I wish you the best of luck there in Dublin. I hope to see you live in another occasion, and I will be working on other cybersecurity topics here in Brussels. And I thank you very much, wish you a very good day, and thanks for having me. It was an honor to speak to you from Brussels. Thank you very much.
A very positive message there from Bart Groothuis. Very interesting discussions to kick off today's opening and developments at a national level for cybersecurity in Ireland. We've also seen the importance of developments and regulation at the European level, and a call there from the Minister that there's an onus on all of us to take a greater interest in what's happening in Europe and the European Commission. And I also noticed the comments coming in the chat that I suppose these issues and these challenges that we have are not just on the cybersecurity professionals and cybersecurity community. It's really the onus is on the greater IT community, the business leaders, management, and also government to work on this together. So thanks very much for joining us for the opening session. Thank you to the Minister, to Bart, and to Paul. We're next going to move on to session 1, Ireland's Cybersecurity Opportunity, which you can now access through the conference lobby. So we hope to see you for the next session. Thank you.